Today on American Strangeness, we reveal the history of the American spotted hodag. The story of Rhinelander, Wisconsin's ferocious chimerical hodag dates back to at least 1870. The earliest reference is a history of Kent County, Michigan, that mentions the mythical North Woods beast, according to the Wisconsin Historical Society. From 1889 to 1892, newspapers across the United States ran fictional stories about a con man who hoaxed people into paying to see a hodag. Eugene Shepard, a lumberman from Rhinelander, penned an illustrated column for his local paper in 1893 and brought these accounts to life by claiming he had captured a hodag. Shepard went so far as to create an animated hodag model that he displayed at fairs, generating national interest. His efforts ensured that the hodag persists today in northern Wisconsin folklore. Also contributing to the hodag legacy was the Centralia Lumber Co, which throughout 1896 placed a series of display ads in the Wood County Reporter and Centralia Enterprise and Tribune that chronicled the detailed history and anatomy of the hodag. While the spotted hodag, Bovine Spiritualis illustration accompanying the Centralia Lumber Company's 1896 display ads, was credited as photographed from life by T.A. Taylor, it appears to have been redrawn, with more detail, from the famous illustration that Eugene Shepard included with his earlier article about capturing a black hodag, published in Rhinelander's The New North newspaper on October 28, 1893. Per the Centralia Lumber Company, this is the history of the American spotted hodag. The origin of this wonderful animal is mostly wrapped up in mystery. The best informed scientists have traced it back to the reptilian age. This would place it among the oldest known living species. It is easy to trace the effect of the mammalian age and succeeding age of man on the form and character of this animal. It has lost nearly all the distinguishing features of the reptile. Its scaly, flexible tail with a sharp-hooked point, the row of spikes on its back, and the short, crooked legs are the principal reptilian parts remaining. But it is, no doubt, at present classed with the mammals by the best and most learned authorities on the subject. Its body and horns resemble most closely those of the ox in form, but its horns are much sharper and stronger than those of the ox, and are articulated when they leave the head and can, at the will of the animal, be pointed in any direction and thus form a most dangerous weapon, offensive or defensive. The legs are bent and apparently quite short when the hodag is at rest and moving slowly undisturbed in its native haunts. But when aroused or seeking its prey, they straighten out to a remarkable length and develop great speed. Each foot is armed with 3 formidable claws in front, very sharp and strong. These claws are articulated, which adds greatly to their usefulness. From the heel of each foot projects a long claw with a fish-hook point. The claw is of great service in tearing to pieces the bears or other animals upon which the hodag feeds, and also prevents slipping and sliding when he is running down steep declivities. The hook on the end of its tail is also used for the same purpose, and by such means it can with safety maintain a breakneck speed down quite steep precipices in pursuit of its natural prey. It is a very intelligent animal. Its facial expression is almost human, but not as much so as would appear from the photograph. The mouth is very prominent. The teeth form a double row on the lower jaw, as will be seen by close scrutiny of the accompanying picture. The upper jaw projects beyond the lower jaw, is pointed and as hard as flint. On its lower edge are many rows of sharp cutting teeth. The upper jaw has a rotary grinding motion when the animal is masticating its food. The sharp point or horn in which this jaw terminates is a fearful weapon when the hodag uses it as a ram and rushes upon its prey with the speed of the wind. It is a most formidable beast, and its presence, even in broad daylight, could not fail to strike terror to the boldest heart. But it is most to be dreaded at night. The noise that it makes by whetting its upper teeth upon the lower ones, once heard in the stillness of a summer night, will never be forgotten. To cap the climax, there is the Hodag's howl. 47 wildcats and as many loons, assisted by as many screech owls, all attuning their voices in unison would, figuratively speaking, not be in it. The scientific name, Bovine Spiritualis, was given to this animal on account of the popular belief that on the death of an ox, its spirit took the form of a hodag. In support of this theory, it is reported by at least 3 reliable woodsmen that soon after Daly and Sampson lost a valuable black and white ox in the winter of 1893 to 1894, they saw in the distance a large hodag marked plainly with white spots on a black background like the ox in question. And what is still more remarkable, DNS was distinctly branded on one horn. To this day, these woodsmen smile a smile of scorn and derision when anyone in their presence presumes to cast a doubt upon this illustration of the ancient theory of transmigration. It is true that the hodag is carnivorous, but it also feeds upon small shrubs, and the new shoots of the branches of trees are its favorite diet. It prefers the pine to all other kinds of timber. By means of the hook on its tail, it pulls small trees up by the roots and then feeds upon the branches. The hodag frequents the trails made by oxen in their feeding grounds that are turned loose in summer by the logging firms, and many a poor camp watcher has come to a violent death by meeting one of these ugly brutes on a crooked, brush-covered trail. Without any warning, his legs are clasped by the long, sharp claws and held firmly while the animal proceeds to disembowel him with the hook on his tail. The result is too horrifying to talk about. All the while, the beast is uttering the most deafening roars imaginable. Such frequent encounters occurred in the summer of 1893 to 1894 that the last legislature of Wisconsin passed a law making it punishable by heavy fine and imprisonment to engage one man alone to guard these isolated camps and care for the cattle. Strange it is, the hodag never attacks an ox that has the marks of a yoke on his neck or shoulders, but cows and young stock suffer occasionally, and Dan Arpin claims that he lost several horses by them, as well as a crosshaul or 2. The foregoing seems incredible, and though related to us by Ed Whelan of unquestioned veracity, we will not vouch for it being absolutely true in every respect. In every logging camp are those who can tell wonderful tales of these wonderful animals. When the men are gathered around the blazing campfire in the evening and the wintry wind is wailing dismally outside, then doth the hodag fiend most gleefully spin his yarn. The mournful wail of the wind reminds him of the swish of the hodag's tail as it lashes the air furiously when maddened with rage or pain. A fight between a full-grown hodag and a swamp sauger is as fearful a story, when told by an eyewitness, as was ever read or heard. The writer here might say in the way of explanation that as the hodag is king of the highlands or hard ground, so is the swamp sauger king of the lowlands or wet and marshy ground. The fight always takes place at the edge of a swamp or marsh, and when the combatants are evenly matched in size, the battle of the Titans, or a war between England and the United States, is in comparison a tame affair. The result is always the utter destruction of one of the fighters. If the hodag, by taking a twist with its tail around a tree and dragging its enemy by main strength, succeeds in getting it upon hard ground, the issue is no longer doubtful, and the swamp sauger soon becomes an unrecognizable mass of teeth, claw, hairs, and bones. But if the hodag's tail slips and loses its grip, or the roots of the tree give way under the tremendous strain to which they are subjected, the hodag simply disappears from the face of the earth, and joins the innumerable throng that is daily immolated on the altar of Ananias for the benefit of the lovers of fable and fiction. Right here, let us say that it has taken an enormous outlay of time and expense to bring the history of the hodag to this point, and our readers can to a certain extent comprehend the sublime assurance and consummate gall of the writer in making this attempt at such a history. The series concluded with, to change the subject for just one moment, we would like to keep our office force employed during the doll season, and if you will send us your bills for estimate, it will help us to do so, and it may be of some benefit to you at the same time. Also, each ad included this call to action. If you desire the complete history of this denizen of the pine forest of northern Wisconsin, call on Centralia Lumber Company in Centralia, Wisconsin, and get their price on lumber, lath, shingles, doors, windows, lime, and building paper. Send in your bills for estimate. A description of the Hodag accompanies each estimate. Somberly, the final Centralia Lumber Company ad from this series in early 1897 simply proclaimed, "The Hodag is no more." Later that year, the Centralia Enterprise and Tribune would lament, "What has become of the Centralia Lumber Company's spotted Hodag? We miss its inspiring presence. Did it get away, or has it died a natural death and, being the last of its kind, is the species now extinct? If it died a natural death, accept our heartfelt sympathy in this, the hour of your affliction." The Centralia Lumber Company became the Kellogg Brothers Lumber Company in 1901. The city of Centralia merged with the city of Grand Rapids in 1900, and since 1920 has been known as Wisconsin Rapids, the seat of Wood County. But the Hodag lives on in local legend, thanks in part to a brilliant marketing campaign almost 130 years ago.